Okay, I've tried recording this so many times, and every time my camera has died, just because I haven't given it enough time to charge. So I left it for half the day charging, just to make sure that this episode wouldn't die out. So to get this out on time so that tomorrow, which would be the 17th, is, fine the way it is. I also want to move my mic just a little bit into the microphone a little bit. As you can tell, it's rather late today. I'm just trying to find the piece of paper that has the thing. Okay, yeah. As you can tell, it's rather late outside. It is currently 10 p.m. I've tried recording it that many times, yes. I actually had to end up, taking a break, letting the camera battery charge for however long it needed to take. Just because every time I tried to record it, the camera would keep dying. But, that kind of helps because the topic that I pulled out from the hat way earlier in the day when I did the VGC thing and I went, nope, this is way too different, is, idea number 13, if the camera would be so willing to focus onto it, which it isn't right now. Hashtag Mad Boys anger. Don't know why it's not doing it today. It was doing it earlier, but it wasn't doing it today, at this moment, but that's fine. Oop. So, hashtag Mad Boys anger, part 3 of 3 of the Glad Boys and Sad Boys. Now we're here at Mad Boys. So, since I was as young as I can remember, about 3, 4, maybe, I have been angry. I've had anger issues. I've been violently angry in the past. I haven't been violently angry, as in, physically violently angry, in years, but, I'll get to that in a second. Oh, also, by the way, this episode won't have any music to it. Like the Sad Boys one didn't. But I have been verbally angry, but I haven't had a physical fight with anybody in a few years, which is good. It shows that there's progress being made. So let's go through the physical, some of the physical stories first, then some of the verbal stories, then the things that make me mad, and we'll continue on from there maybe. So, physical stories. I remember 2, 3. I remember 3 stories, actually. If we try and do them in chronological order, one story, I had someone call me a skinhead. Now, A, I'm black. B, skinheads are a term for racist people. No. No, 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 no. And when the person kept calling me that, by the way, this dude was white, so even if he didn't mean it to be, it was coming off as very, very racist. I got angry, and I hit him with a clipboard. People remember that. I was having a conversation with one of my friends who has known me for years, has seen me in my violent anger stages. Still cool, we're still friends. And he went, oh, whenever I talk about you, people always go, oh, you mean that one crazy dude who hit somebody with a clipboard, or oh, that one crazy dude who had this situation, which isn't cool, but I'd rather it be that than just, oh, that one dude who's really weird, because that would cause more paranoia in me. That kind of links to that whole anxiety thing. But what the hell does that sound? I hope my mic can't pick that up, because that is the most annoying sound I've ever heard. But yeah, there is that story. Then I had a story where somebody was bullying some other kid, whatever, doing the most basic ass I'm a TV bully ever. Hey, here's a kick me sign on the back of someone's back. I go, well, that's idiotic and stupid and childish. So I take it off the person's back, not saying that to whoever. Take it off their back, throw it in the bin. The dude who put it on sees this, punches me in the face, and I go, well, it's time to do this. And this is one of the few times where, even though I was angry, I was completely aware of what was happening. Because a lot of people describe when you get angry you see red. It's not necessarily that. It's more because my body's so picked up in adrenaline at the time, I can't remember what's happening. I don't remember what happens afterwards. At least not clearly. Because, again, my body's hooked up on adrenaline. When I get angry, I shake. I mess up my words a lot more. I also end up crying. Like, I also start crying if I'm getting, like, violently angry, like, I'm going to hit you kind of angry, which isn't fun. But some kid do this, he hit me in the face, and I go, okay, cool. And we get into a fight. He throws a chair at me, I catch it in the air. It's probably the most badass thing I've ever done. um, and it's the only things I remember are the way it started, that chair thing, because I remember even then I went, that's the most badass thing I've ever done. And the fight ending with me and him having like our hands around each other's necks, which isn't great. But the school that I went to that had that happen, um, like hasn't had known me to have issues in the past. So when that came up, they're like, okay, what happened this time? Like, what's the situation? And I was like, well, I got hit first. And he went, and the teacher that I was speaking to just went, I understand entirely. Cool. Which is dope, which is nice. Um, yeah, but that's not a good time. And then another time, and this will link into things that make me mad a little bit later on. I got piled on by a bunch of people because someone kicked me. Like, I wanted to speak to them and they kicked me. Whatever. Cool. It's one hit. It's one hit. One hit, and by somebody that I want to talk to and is obviously mad at me for whatever reason. Um, so I take it, I'm fine with that. But it's because everyone else piles onto me the moment he kicks me because they're like, oh, he's gonna get mad, that I got mad, I got angry because so many people piled onto me and I didn't like that. Um, I had a teacher like come and like grab me, and I hate this teacher, by the way. She was a bitch, and she grabbed me, tried to hold me back, and I shrugged her off. And then later on, and this made me even angrier. She she had me like in kind of detention, but mostly like, oh, talks with teachers about like, oh, what's up with the behavior, what's going on with this. And she was like, and when I explained what happened, and I was like, I got mad because this happened, she was like, okay, that's understandable, but you still bruised my shoulder or strained my shoulder or whatever. Bitch, I shrugged you off. Whatever pain you had in your shoulder was probably there from beforehand. You hate me anyway. So the fact that that happened just gave her an excuse to complain more about me. She hated me. Like, if she could have had me gone, she would have had me gone. But she couldn't because fuck her, I was a good student. Um, but that happened, and that's just a whole other situation. I'm trying to get through this quickly because I've done this already, so I know kind of what I'm saying. Um, oh, I also have one more story. Yes. Then another story, and this is the last time I remember getting very physically violent. Is I mean, like physically angry. Is I was on my 3DS, and some girl comes up, is like, oh, ha ha ha, what's your 3DS? Blah 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 blah. Drops. 3DS drops. I'm afraid it broke. I didn't check it immediately, but I was like, oh shit, it broke. And my 3DS has its own story as to how I got it. But it made me mad. I like consider it a precious thing to have as a memory thing. So I pick up my bag and I whack the girl with it, and she flies across the room. And I go like, oh, that's what you get for touching my shit. And then I immediately like realize what just happened, and I calm down and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm sorry. And it was only later that I realized that the situation that happened with that is that I have an art briefcase down here, right? And this has A, it's a briefcase, so it's made out of wood, out of a hard wood, and B, it has art supplies in it. And that was in my bag at the time. So I didn't just hit this girl with my bag, I hit this girl with a briefcase in a bag. Which probably hurt a whole lot, and I felt really bad about that, like, especially when I realized later on. Um, that's like, getting physically angry is not something I enjoy, but at the same time, something in me says, hey, you need to be physically violent. Like, especially recently, and I don't know what's happened recently to make me feel this way, but something in my mind has been like, you haven't been violently angry in a while. You feel like you really need to punch something. Hey, what's up with that? Hey, maybe if someone pushes your buttons in just the right way, you can get them to hit you, and then you have an excuse to hit them back, and you'll be able to get out all that anger. And I was like, no. I don't know why my brain has been like that. I don't know why that's happening. But that's just a thought process that my brain has had. recently, and it scares me because I thought that, like, yes, I've been verbally angry, which I also don't like, but if I've had so long in not being physically violent, and then all of a sudden your brain's like, but hey, by the way, you need to be physically violent again, hopefully sometime soon, so that you get it out. It scares me. It terrifies me. This is also going to be the first time I take a drink on camera because holy shit, my throat got real dry. So yeah, those are some of the physical anger situations I've had. I don't know why I've ever been physically violent. Nothing has happened to me that I can think of, especially not from when I was young, from when I was 3, that could have made me be physically violent, but sometimes that's just how people are born. So then verbal violence. I have kind of gone past the physical violence other than what I've just explained. So with the verbal violence, is it 3 times? Yes, it's 3 times again that I can think of. One time was with one of my best friends. Someone like came into his space while everyone was doing an exercise thing. I wasn't exercising because I left my inhaler at the time, and if I do vigorous training or vigorous exercise, and I end up like losing too much breath and I start wheezing or having an asthma attack, that's not good. But someone bumps into him. My friend looks at me like, the fuck? And I take that as, oh, you're afraid of confrontation. I can say it, though, because if he gets mad at me, at least he's not mad at you. So I about to speak up, and he's like, no, don't do it. And I end up shouting at him, what's the issue? There's no issue that's gonna happen here, because if he's gonna get mad, he'll get mad at me, not at you. Whatever, cool. And I end up doing it anyway. Now, granted, obviously, this is like one of my friends. He saw that as like a kind of betrayal, but not necessarily a betrayal, just like a, why did you not listen to me? Like, it made him sad. He didn't speak to me for a bit, which was understandable. I gave him the space because I knew that wouldn't be, chill. We ended up, like, we're still close now. We speak. That's fine. That whole situation has blown over. Then, I had a situation, and this will also link into stuff that makes me mad, which is the only part I haven't gotten to yet, like, whenever trying to record this. I was in a group to do screen work. Now, we weren't getting graded on it, so I understand that a lot of people weren't taking it seriously. But because I was going into acting stuff specifically to be like, hey, I want to be a voice actor, but if I'm not a voice actor, I want to be on the screen. And I did theater training, which, yeah, theater training is easier to get into screen acting with, but I would have rather preferred to learn about that at least a little bit. And a lot of people, before I write the script, are like, oh, this is what we want on the script, this is what I have. And I'm like, okay, I can't write this down right now, but you guys told me to write the script, so if you guys send me your notes, what you want in the thing, like what shots or whatever you want in the thing, just tell me and I'll write it down. No one gets to me the night I write the script. Like, no one. I wait until like 10:30, and I'm like, okay, cool. This means no one's gonna get to me. Like, no one's gonna speak to me. So I just write the script myself. I just write it with what I think looks like, what I think verbally works fine and what I think looks fine. Come back in the next morning. I say, okay, none of you gave me any of the information you wanted me to put into the script. But don't know why, don't know what the situation is, whatever, cool. Maybe some of you were out, whatever. So here's the script I wrote. If it has stuff that you don't agree with, I'm sorry, but again, you guys didn't give me anything, which is true. I was frustrated, I'll admit that, but I was willing to just be like, okay, whatever. That's just how it is. If things are disagreed with, we can roll with it or write it into a new script, or we can just record it with the lines that people agree with, whatever. Cool. We do that. I say that, and everyone goes, okay, calm down. Like, don't be mad, calm down. And I get angry because they're telling me to calm down. And I'm like, I wasn't angry, but now that you've told me that I'm angry because I wasn't angry and you assumed that, and it's like it's a whole situation, and I got verbally mad, and it was to the point because pardon me, this was the first time I had ever gotten like angry at the school, like rather within a lesson. So they hear this. Well, the teacher hears this and is immediately like, "Hey, so let's continue on with stuff." Like, not to go, "Oh, can I pull you and you out for a second?" Just goes, "Okay, let's continue on with the work. Let's keep going." And I didn't realize how many people were like listening in at the time because I got loud. I get loud when I'm angry, and when I'm like verbally angry, I get like a very aggressive. Like what I ended up saying was basically, and I'm gonna try and replicate it because I'm not mad right now, but I'm gonna try and replicate it. Was basically, no, I'm not angry, but now that you've told me that I'm angry, I'm getting angrier and angrier. Like, don't say that. And I like was shaking, and I had to like calm down a bit, and I was like, no, pause, whatever. Happens, the teacher says, okay, let's keep going, which I respect from that teacher, to be like, hey, let's go into work, instead of, oh, let's pull you and you out. That happens. Everyone that was in that situation, I'm cool with now. Granted, like all the verbal anger stuff thus far has been kind of remedied, which is good, which is nice. I prefer that. I like that rather. So that happens. One of the people didn't like me at the time. We're cool now. But it's just it got me mad for reasons that I'll explain later. Even though I kind of explained it in the story anyway. Then the third time, I was speaking to my ex and a group of my ex's friends, and my ex and I are both going into animation, in further education, and they have said to me before, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable completely going into animation because I want to do 2D, and I know that 2D isn't that popular anymore. And I had sat them down and I said, that's not necessarily true. Well, more so we were in a call, and I was like, okay, well, that's not necessarily true. There's this aspect, there's so much stuff there. Well, you can't say that 2D's dead. There's obviously a whole lot of stuff with it. Um, and we have that conversation the first time. Then we're in a call, and they say again, "Oh, I'm going into animation, but I don't know why because 2D's dead anyway." And I get very verbally mad. I don't know why. I don't know what happened that day. Like the other two times, the first time I was stressed that day anyway, and I just burst out on my friend that wasn't necessary. The second time was because I got frustrated, and then they started assuming. Um, and this time I don't know what happened. I don't know why I got mad, but I kind of know why. It was because I had to explain something that I thought they had they had listened to. Um, I had to explain it again, and I was like, no, that's not the case. Blah, like, as I was explaining it, I got angry and angrier because I realized how much they didn't listen to me the first time. And, they heard this, and we had been together for 2 years. We had already broken up at this point. That was the first time they heard me angry, like, actually angry at somebody. And, like, they went, okay, sorry. Put down the call. I had to go and call them privately, like, soon after, to be like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I got so angry. Which is true, I don't know why I got so angry. And they went like, oh, I don't like seeing you I don't like it when you're mad. Like, not I don't like seeing you angry because of, like, oh, like, you're a nice person, we don't, but, like, I don't like seeing you mad, it scares me. Um, and that hurts, not because it's like, oh, I scare you, it's because I still cared deeply for my ex. Like, well, take that how you will, but I still care deeply. Like, we're still friends. We still talk. We still have conversation. And to scare somebody that I'm close with, to scare somebody that I care deeply about, is very sad to me. Like, very deeply upsetting. But that's just what happened. That was just how it is that was just how it was at the time. Now, granted, apologized. We're fine now. We still talk. Everything's cool as far as I'm aware. I feel bad because I feel like, especially with these stories, I should have asked the people who were involved in at least some of them, hey, by the way, are you cool with me mentioning this? Especially that one. But I don't know. These are done very impromptu. I was lucky that I ended up pulling out this one before we ended the episode of VGC because the camera was gonna die anyway if I had kept recording. Um, but yeah, I don't like being angry. It's not a fun emotion to experience, especially not to the level that I experience it. Um, it also sucks because there's a lot of times where people assume that my anxiety is my anger, because I've had moments where I'm like, and I can mention one off the top of my head. I went to go get tickets, right? For a show. Now, granted, I didn't have anything to worry about. I was gonna get into the show just fine anyway. But I was in line, and then this lady, like, I was already in line, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna like form a line here," and I was already there, so I was like, "Okay, cool." This lady cuts into me, like in front of me, and I'm like, "But I've been here longer. Like, I've been here longer than you have. I've been here with my friends who already have their tickets. I'm afraid that if I don't get my tickets now, I won't even be able to like be anywhere near them, much less anywhere near the people that I'm watching who are also my friends." And I like freak out, and I'm like, "Hey, like I don't say to her, oh, sorry, like can you like sorry, I was here first." But like my friends are seeing me like getting paranoid basically. They're like, "Oh, what's up?" And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. This doesn't make any sense." And they're like, "No, don't get mad." And I'm like, "I'm not mad. I'm paranoid because I was here first," and I shout that very loudly because again, anxiety and paranoia, like I can't really help that when that comes out. Um, but we're gonna go real quick into things that make me mad. So things that kind of push my buttons that I really shouldn't say out loud, but at least might help if people think they're gonna make me angry. So okay, the biggest thing that makes me mad is when people say the words "don't get mad" or "oh, calm down" when I'm not angry. That makes me mad because I'm not angry. You all like people who say that to me are obviously not people who have seen me angry, right? Like have not actually seen me angry. And it bothers me because that makes me go from a boiling anger of like don't say that to then verbal anger of me like shouting at them like why would you what that doesn't make any sense, don't say that because now you're making me angry. And granted, thus far it has not gone into violent anger of like okay, you know, fuck it, which thank Jesus, because someone would see me punch the person for that and be like what the fuck, like that makes no sense. Granted, I can't really control that if it does happen. Like, it's not something that I can actively control because even though I have been in school, most of my incidents have happened in school, and all of my schools have said, "Oh, we really need to try and help you with your anger management. We need to try and help you with that." Never sent me to a doctor. Never sent me to some sort of therapist. Never gave me anger management classes in school. Okay, they were basically saying we'll get you anger management, like we'll help you with anger management as a quota thing to be like, oh well, we tried everything we can, even though they didn't. They did nothing at all. None of the schools I ever went to that saw me get angry enough to have me in an office with a teacher never did anything about it. So that's on them. This is gonna end up being longer than a depression episode. Because this is something I've experienced longer than depression and anxiety. Um The other thing that makes me mad, and this isn't necessarily, it is kind of lying, but not necessarily. It's if someone has, I've said this in an earlier video, but if someone has an issue or criticism with something that I have done or do or have did whatever, I want them to tell me, or has like an opinion of me. I want them to tell me because if it's enough of an issue, they should be able to tell me. They should be able to have that conversation with me. Again, not gonna mention any names because I try not to whenever I make these videos. But I've had multiple friends come up to me. Well, no, I've had multiple friends that I'm cool with now. At one point, say that I'm a creep, or like say that I creep them out. but not to my face. They've said it to my other friends who had come up to me and been like, yeah, so I heard this from this person. And I was like, okay, thank you for telling me, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to act on that. And the reason why I don't act on that is because they didn't tell me. Um, I will, like, the way that when I say I don't act on it, I mean I won't, like, change anything in myself, basically. What does happen is I end up messaging or talking to the person being like, hey, so this is what I heard. What's up? Talk to me. And the first time that happens is fine, because I know that a lot of people get very iffy about that. But I literally say to everyone who's ever been my friend, everyone who I've ever met and had a conversation with long enough knows, if you have something to say to me or have an issue or something with something I do, tell me, because I won't know otherwise. So I say that to people. Now, I've had a situation where that's gotten up to 2 times, and I don't know if it ever happened a third time, and I'm glad that I don't know if there was a third time. First time it happened, we had a conversation, it was cool. Second time, I hear it again from the same person who told me before that the person had a feeling for me, like, thought that I was too close or felt like I was creeping them out or whatever. And I literally go, oh, for fuck's sake, that time. Not because, like, oh, I'm being told, like, oh, whatever, I'm being told this information that doesn't make any sense. I'm being told this by someone who isn't the person. I'm saying for fuck's sake, not because I'm being told this, but because I'm being told this by the wrong person, basically. And I messaged that person again, and I don't know if they ever saw this message because we've never spoken about it. But I sent them a message being like, hey, if this is the way you feel, tell me. I have said this to you. I have said this to you already. Tell me. Like, tell me what's up. Don't be afraid. Because this is what makes me angry. I literally said, like, this is what gets me mad. And, like, I'm not mad right now. But I'm just saying, if, like, I was legit like, no, this doesn't make me mad now. But if this happens again, I think I will actually get mad at you. And I'm sorry if that happens. Which does sound very terrible. Does sound very terrible saying it out loud. I'll admit that. But that was how I felt at the time. Now, I don't know if the person ever had anything a third time, because, you know, if they did, I was never told. And that's fine. I'm okay with that, because if that had happened and I got verbally angry and maybe even, like, physically angry, that's a whole different situation that I wasn't down with. Another thing that makes me mad, and this is, like, I guess kind of the third major thing, other than, like, other little things that obviously should make me angry, is when people assume things either about me or about others that very much aren't true. Major thing is people who know me now, who have known me in the past 2 years from my acting school, a lot of people say to me, I can never see you angry, because I come off as a very chill person. I'm willing to have conversations about whatever, whenever. They're like, I could never see you angry, you're a very chill person. And I go, you wouldn't want to, because I've been violently angry before. It's not a fun time for anybody. I've said this, and I've had one person while I was in the room at the time be like, no, you just get showy. Bitch, hold on. I got shouty at you. And that was because I didn't get physically angry. If I had gotten physically angry, your response would have been so different in that moment. Or you wouldn't even be there because you wouldn't want to talk to me. Like, that person was my friend at the time. They were like, nah, you just get, like, you just shout. Like, oh, you just use your words. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. You don't, like, I didn't say this to them at the time because I'm like, I don't want to cause a whole situation because that will make me mad. I just hear it and I look at them like, the fuck? No. I'm like, nah, I get violently angry, and that's not fun. Those are some of the things that make me mad. So, basically, assuming I'm angry, withholding information from me, or assuming things. Like, withholding information from me about me, basically, that I could better myself as a person from, because that's what in the end, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm doing in making this video, is getting out there that, yes, I get angry and it sucks, and I want to fix that because I want to be a better person. Um, and when people withhold information from me because they're afraid I'll get mad at them, that sucks for me and for them, because if I became a better person from their information, do you know how much I'd be like indebted to that person? I'd be so in debt to them. But I don't think people recognize that. So yeah. Other things that make me mad, that aren't necessarily like the three major things, but just things that should make me mad. I don't like bigotry in any sense, so I don't like ageism, I don't like sexism, I don't like homophobia, I don't like racism. Racism obviously is a much bigger one for me because I'm black/mixed race, and obviously that causes situations there. Um, and the other ones like ageism, like homophobia, like sexism. Sexism is probably like the closest again to me, other than racism, because I have three older sisters, and sexism doesn't make any sense to me. And then the other ones are all kind of on the same level, because even though I know people who either have experienced it or are close in that regard, like I have friends who are LGBT, I have friends who are older, I have friends who are younger. I mean, I have parents, I have grandparents, so obviously there's ageism there. But because I haven't experienced that, while it still makes me mad when I see it, because it's not inherently affecting me, it doesn't make me as mad. Which, granted, sounds shitty, sounds very very shitty, but because I'm not feeling the adverse effect, and I just kicked the tripod, but because I'm not feeling the adverse effect of it, I don't get as mad. I still get angry. I still get verbally angry, but like racism, for example, could make me violently angry. Sexism, for example, could make me violently angry. Another thing that gets me mad, is disrespecting the dead who have proven themselves to be good people in life, or has had information come up that proved that they were a good person in life, at least for a little bit. If someone did that, especially because, again, as I mentioned in my depression one, I have, like, my mother passed away. If I had somebody I don't know, or someone I'm not close with, say something very disrespectful about the dead, or say something very disrespectful about my mother, I would get physically angry on the spot. I won't even lie to you, right? This is how my mind has said it, because I've had to talk myself through the situation in case this happens. So, I have friends who make jokes about that, and not because like, oh, ha ha ha, your mom's dead, but because they just don't remember at the time, and then later on realize and like, oops. And I don't mind that, because they're my friends, like, whatever. You're destined to forget information about me, that's fine, that's just how it is. But people I don't know, again, they won't know this information either. So if I hear someone I don't know, or I'm not chill with, say something disrespectful initially, first thing I say is, I'm not cool with that. My mother's dead, or something like that. And if they go, oh, oops, sorry, or oh, okay, it's like, okay, it's cool, whatever, just be aware next time. But and granted, this hasn't happened yet, but I would hate it if it does, is if I say that to somebody who I don't know or otherwise don't like, and they then proceeded to continue on, I'd actually, like, I would fight them. Like, I would fight them. It would make me so angry. And that sucks, because, I mean, I've said to myself, especially recently, like, within the past year or two, like, hey, if I ever get physically violent, if I ever feel like I'm gonna get physically angry again, I am not allowed. I will refuse myself to actively harm somebody until they have thrown the first punch. Because at least then, if something happens to me or to that person, and I get arrested or otherwise, I can claim self-defense. Because I live in England, I can do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I will claim self-defense if I have to, basically. And I will. But in that situation, I'm afraid that I won't be that person. I won't be the person who said to myself, hey, don't throw the first punch. I would be the person who hears disrespect to the dead, people who cannot defend themselves. and I'd get angry and be physical with that person. I got close because the person looked at me like they were about to tell the same joke, but I stopped listening to them. I stopped listening to them because I don't know whether they did or not. So that's fine. Now, this is where in the depression and anxiety video, I started talking about things that made me feel a little bit better, things that helped me. I'll be honest with you, there isn't for this. There isn't. And that's because I haven't found anything. I don't know. I never went through what I've gone through with depression and anxiety within the past few years with that, where I've had things that were readily available that I could use to help myself. And especially because it's been so long since I've gotten physically violent as well. I don't know what helps me in those situations. I know that if I'm starting to get angry, I know that all I need is to change the topic. Like, change the topic off of what's making me mad to something else. But that doesn't always help. And in the moment that doesn't help, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know because I've never had the chance to learn what works for me. And while I could go out and find what I could use, the issue that arises with that is that for me to first find out what works, I need to first get angry. And I don't want to get, I don't want to at least get angry enough that I start being verbally abusive to an extent to people I love or people I hate. Even people I hate, I don't want to have to be physically abusive to somebody, you know? Like, even when I'm mad, I don't aim for, like, things that I know are touchy. Like, I'm not going to aim for someone's weight because that's shitty. Like, people love themselves. Let people love themselves. If you hate them for being, like, chubby or hate them for being, like, too skinny, that's on your situation, right? Only things I can kind of get is if someone is morbidly obese or if someone is, like, dangerously underweight, because that's something they need to work on. But don't even then, don't bully the person. Just, like, recognize that that's what needs to be done. Just, I don't know. Anger is probably my worst. Like, there's a lot of things that I joke about being my weakness as a person. But the thing that is actually my weakness is my anger. And that's not even like so poetic. It's just, it's the truth. My anger is the worst part about me. I hate a lot of things about me, right? But my anger is the worst. The anger is the one thing that if I could change anything about myself, I would remove on the spot. Just because, like, it doesn't need to be there. It comes from a place of, again, anger. It comes from a place of resentment. Maybe for others, maybe for myself, I don't know. But it's anger. And I hate it. And it's not a good kind of anger. It's not an anger that I can work on. I said earlier that I felt like I've needed to get physically violent. I've wanted to take up boxing recently because of that. Because at least, like, even though it's not a person, which is a good thing, at least, like, I can practice on a punching bag. And that would help. That would help because at least, like, that physical aspect of it, that physical violence aspect of it is getting out in a way that's healthy, that's actually bettering me physically as a person. But I don't know. I don't know what I need to do to make my anger better. I don't know what to do to chill out. I genuinely think, and this is a really terrible thing to say, especially because this is the second to last point before I end this video, is I think that the reason I haven't gotten very physically violent recently is because of my depression and my anxiety. Because that devoids me of emotion. That's what that does. That's what my depression and my anxiety does. It makes me feel devoid of emotion at all times. I feel empty. So I can't feel anger. My final point, and I think saying this will suddenly make a lot of people realize, or like this whole video will probably make people realize, but I mentioned this in my depression video. I don't drink. I don't drink at all. And while a lot of that is because I don't like the taste of alcohol, there is part of me that will admit that the reason I don't drink alcohol is because I'm afraid that if I do and I get tipsy or I get drunk or I have just a little bit too much to drink, I will get angry. I will get physically angry. I will harm someone to a point of no return. Like, at least in the fights I've had before, right? I've never almost killed somebody, you know? Like, I've never I've never broken a bone. I've never broken somebody's bone, and I'm glad I haven't. Like, yeah, maybe that's a story to tell, but I haven't done it, you know? But I'm afraid that if I got drunk enough, or if I had just a little bit too much to drink, that would happen. I'd end up hitting somebody, I'd end up breaking something, I'd end up whatevering to either that person or myself. That's to a point of no return. And I'm not down for that. It's not happening. It's just not happening at all. Like, no. I'm not letting that happen. So that's anger. That's hashtag mad boys. This is why I kind of hoped that when I said glad boys, I said I kind of hoped that that one would be 2 or 3, because at least then in the mid, like either in the middle at the end of this series, it would have been um like, hey, this is what I used to help myself in these situations. But because it was the first one, it made this one, it made the one before that, and now this one so much longer. And that's just because I've had so much to talk about this one in particular as well. And I feel so bad because none of the other episodes. This is 4 times as long as any of the other episodes. This is the longest I've ever recorded on Audition. Does it even say that it's been that long? Yes, it does. That's wild. But that's just how it is. So I'm sorry for taking your time. I'm sorry for taking 40 minutes out of your day. But I also thank you so very much for watching this. I hope that whoever's listening to this, whether you're friends, family, or otherwise, has come to understand me a little bit better in that regard. Ever wondered, like, stuff like that about me? This is what it is. This is what it's like. This is what I feel about my anger. But thank you so very much for watching. I hope you'll come back tomorrow. Um, at least I hope that by the time I upload this, I can say that. Probably not. I guess I'll say today then. I hope you have a nice day today when people eventually see this. Um, I I don't know how to go with that. Just thank you for watching. Have a good day. I hope that any anger that you might experience soon dissipates. I hope that if you also suffer from anger management, from anger issues in some form, that you find a way above it. Because I know I haven't. And I hope that I will in time, but I haven't, and I hope that you do.